Looking for magic cards? At flipsidegaming.com you can now use the promo code LVD to get a 10% discount on orders over $10 while supporting the channel at the same time. Hello and welcome to another episode of Friendly Friday, a weekly series where we take a look at budget, standard or modern decks. And this week we're taking a look at Soul Sisters in Modern, a deck named after Soul Warden and Soul's Attendant, 1 mana 1/1 creatures that make you gain 1 life whenever another creature enters a battlefield. So Soul Sisters is this kind of synergistic aggro life gain deck that uses these various life gain triggers and ways to gain life to its benefit, since we've got a card like Ajani's Pridemate, a 2 mana 2/2 that gets a +1/+1 counter whenever you gain life. So for each life gain trigger from Soul Warden or Soul's Attendant, the Ajani's Pridemate will get a +1/+1 counter, meaning that it will grow very large very quickly. We've got another payoff card here in the form of Serra Ascendant, a 1 mana 1/1 with lifelink that says, as long as you have 30 or more life, Serra Ascendant gets +5/+5 and has flying. So in this deck you can quickly get above 30 life, meaning you get a 1 mana 6/6 flyer with lifelink, which is quite a bargain. And another payoff card for gaining life in the deck is Crested Sunmare, a 5 mana 5/5 that generates 5/5 horse tokens every turn if you've gained life during that turn, which also counts at the opponent's turn. So let's take a look at the entire deck, starting out with Martyr of Sands, a 1 mana 1/1 that can gain you a ton of life all at once, since you can pay a mana, sacrifice the Martyr of Sands, reveal any number of white cards from your hand, and then you get to gain 3 life for every white card you've revealed, which means you can quickly get above 30 life and start playing out Serra Ascendants as 6/6s on turn 2 already. Then we've got 4 copies of Path to Exile as a removal spell of choice. Then our 4 Serra Ascendant, which we've already discussed. Then we've got a total of 7 Soul Sisters, we've got 4 Soul Warden and 3 Soul's Attendant. The only difference between Soul Warden and Soul's Attendant is that Soul Warden is a must gain life, while Soul's Attendant is a may ability. Then our 4 Ajani's Pridemate, which is one of the centerpieces of the deck, and the deck wouldn't really work without him. Then we've got 3 Honor of the Pure as a nice 2 mana Anthem effect in the deck, since all our creatures are white, and works very well with some of the cards that go wide in our deck. And one of those cards is Squadron Hawk, a 2 mana 1/1 with flying, that when it enters a battlefield you get to search your library for any number of cards named Squadron Hawk and put them into your hand, meaning when you play 1 Squadron Hawk you get to search up 3 more copies and put them into your hand, which is a nice way to gain some card advantage, a nice way to get some more creatures to trigger your various Soul Sisters, and just a nice card in general. Then another way to gain card advantage in the deck is with Ranger of Eos, a 4 mana 3/2 that when he enters the battlefield, you get to search your library for up to 2 cards with converted mana cost of 1 and put them into your hand, meaning you can search up Martyr of Sands, you can search up Serra Ascendant, which is the big payoff card, or you can just find some more Soul Sisters if that's what you need. Then we also have 1 copy of Gideon, Ally of Zendikar as a powerful planeswalker in the deck that can turn into a 5/5 creature to start beating down, but can also generate 2/2 ally tokens, which is a nice way to trigger your Soul Sisters every turn, or you can just make an Anthem as well to add on to the go wide plan. Then we've already covered our Crested Sunmare, making 5/5s almost every turn, and can also make those in the opponent's turn, which is very relevant. And finally we have 4 copies of Spectral Procession, which we can always cast for 3 mana in this deck, making 3 1/1 spirit tokens with flying, which goes nicely with our go wide plan and our various Anthem effects. And of course 3 spirits entering the battlefield means 3 triggers for each Soul Sister we have in play, which adds up very nicely. Then our mana base is very straightforward, we've got 20 basic planes, and then 2 Shefet Dunes, which in a late game we can sacrifice to give all our creatures +1/+1 until end of turn. Then quickly going over the sideboard, we have 2 copies of Burrenton Forge-Tender against mono red decks, but we can also bring it in as a measure against red sweeper effects post-board. We've got 1 copy of Celestial Purge to deal with red or black permanents, 2 Rest in Peace against graveyard decks, 2 Stony Silence for artifact-based decks. Got a Celestial Flare as an additional removal spell, and we're playing this over a card like Blessed Alliance, since that means that we can still attack and make our opponent sacrifice a blocking creature as well, rather than only being able to sacrifice an attacking creature. We've got an Eidolon of Rhetoric for the Storm decks, we've got a Wrath of God against creature decks, 2 copies of Return to the Ranks if we're facing a grindy matchup where we expect our creatures to die as a way to get them back from the graveyard. We've got a Dismember as additional removal, and 2 copies of Sundering Growth as artifact and enchantment removal. That also lets us populate, so if we have some spirit tokens or knight tokens in play, we can get an additional 1 of those. So that's the deck, and now let's jump into some games and see how the deck does. Alright, we're on the draw here with an okay opening hand, so we'll keep. So we've got Martyr of Sands plus Serra Ascendant to go with each other. Don't have a ton of white cards to reveal to the Martyr of Sands, but that's okay. So actually an interesting decision, what do we play out on turn 1? We could just lead with the Soul's Attendant, or we can lead with Martyr of Sands to have an additional creature in hand to reveal to the Martyr of Sands. But then of course we miss out on a Soul's Attendant trigger. I think I want to go with the Martyr of Sands first here, just because that increases our chance of getting to 30 life right away for our Serra's Ascendant. Up against a green-white Ether Vial deck, so it could be a Hate Bears type deck, could be a Humans deck, as we see Cavern of Souls, naming Human, so we're facing the 5-color Humans deck here. And they're starting out with Meddling Mage. Let's see what they name, probably Path to Exile is my guess. Yep, and they name Path to Exile. Luckily we don't have it in hand, so it doesn't really matter. Alright, let's untap. Alright, nice, we drew a white card, which is nice. So we could sacrifice our Martyr of Sands, revealing 4 white cards, and then we can play out a 6/6 flying Serra Ascendant right away. That seems pretty powerful. So let's do that. So our opponent does know our hand now, which is a little awkward with cards like Meddling Mage in the opponent's deck, but I think it's worth it here. So let's play out Serra Ascendant. Our opponent could have a Reflector Mage to bounce it, but they don't have a ton of ways to remove our Serra Ascendant otherwise. So things according to plan here, a turn 2 flying 6/6 with lifelink against an aggro deck. And next turn we can decide if we want to play the Soul's Attendant first, or if we want to just be more aggressive and play out the Spectral Procession. Thalia's Lieutenant, that's okay. And I don't expect any attacks. I think we start by attacking, and then we have to decide whether we want to play the Soul's Attendant or the Spectral Procession. Of course, by playing the Soul's Attendant first and then the Spectral Procession, we can gain 3 life over our Soul's Attendant, but maybe just putting the 3 spirits in play is good enough here. So let's slave for 6. So I think we just run out Spectral Procession. A reason also to run out Spectral Procession is if our opponent were to draw a Thalia, then the Procession would cost 1 mana more, which could be relevant. Opponent uses Ether Vial end of turn, putting in Mayor of Everbrook. So let's see how aggressive our opponent gets here. They could technically get us below 30 life. Another Mayor, so that pumps up the Humans once again. So we might have to do some light chump blocking. Opponent gets in with 2 creatures. I think I just block with 1 spirit here to stay above 30. So it doesn't really matter, I guess we block the Lieutenant since that could technically grow. And hope our opponent doesn't have a Reflector Mage. Alright, we get to untap. Another Serra Ascendant, that's probably gonna be game over here, so I think we do that main phase just in case our opponent has a Reflector Mage. So let's play out Serra Ascendant. Opponent's gonna Vial in response. A Thalia Heretic Cathar, so that means our Serra Ascendant will come into play tapped, but we also get to gain an additional point of life from our Soul's Attendant since they didn't put the Thalia in first. And I'm pretty sure we're supposed to attack with our Serra Ascendant here, even though it would make for a decent blocker. Play our land, so next turn we can start making 5/5 tokens every turn. And I'm okay keeping some spirits on defense here just to ensure that we're above 30 life, so our 2 Ascendants are lethal. So with 1 card in hand, I'm not sure how things can go wrong here, since our opponent can only bounce 1 Serra Ascendant. Meddling Mage is gonna name Crested Sunmare here. Names Lingering Souls, alright, that's a little strange, since they still know about our Crested Sunmare in hand from our Martyr of Sands. But as long as we stay above 30, our opponents just add to our Serra Ascendant since they don't have any flyers. Should have this game covered. Alright, on to sideboarding against humans. So what do we want? Stony Silence could be a cheeky card against Ether Vial, but I don't think we need to use that. Wrath of God could be very effective if we set up the right board state. Dismember as an additional removal spell for key creatures seems okay. I don't think we need Celestial Purge, even though our opponent does have red and black creatures, especially if they're sideboard. They might pick up Dark Confidence, and they already have Mantis Rider. Don't think we need Celestial Flare, so I think we just board in these two cards. Then what do we take out? I think we just shave on some Spectral Processions here, since our opponent might still keep in their Thalias, and the 1/1 flyers don't match up particularly well against cards like Kitesail Freebooter. So this opening hand is not particularly powerful, but we do have a path which can be very relevant. So this hand is definitely low on synergy, but I think we can still try and keep this. Just because having 4 lands when we have a 5-drop and a 3-drop is not the end of the world. Opponent does have the turn 1 Ether Vial. Alright, Martyr of Sands is a nice one. We could still decide to keep a Path to Exile here, but it's probably worth it to run out a Martyr of Sands. Since if we end up drawing a Serra Ascendant, we can have a 6/6 flyer on turn 2 again. Opponent's gonna vial in what is probably a Champion of the Parish, yep. 1/1 that grows whenever the opponent plays a human. And their opponent with Meddling Mage, which probably names Path to Exile, although they could be scared of another Serra Ascendant. And yep, indeed, this time they choose Serra Ascendant, but now we have the Path in hand, so that works out nicely for us. Alright, so I think this turn we just say go, and then we can chump block with Martyr of Sands and sacrifice her, then maybe use a Path to Exile. Alright, our opponent with a Thalia Heretic Cathar, that's fine. So our spirits will come into play tapped unless we decide to get rid of the Thalia. Opponent attacks with both. So now we have to decide if we want to path the Thalia or the Champion, since if we want to get rid of Thalia we want to block Champion, if we want to get rid of Champion we want to block Meddling Mage. So I think the Thalia is going to be a bigger problem than the Champion of the Parish, even though the Champion is eventually going to be bigger than our Crested Sunmare. That means we want to block the Champion. And then, before damage, sacrifice the Martyr of Sands, revealing 3 white cards. And then we can let damage happen, that's fine. And end of turn we'll path the Thalia. Opponent already with the planes in play, let's see if they have a second basic land to get, they don't. So we get to untap, we'll make some spirit tokens. Drawing more lands here is unfortunate, since we really only need 5 at the most. But I guess that's what you get for keeping a 4-lander. And there's Kitesail Freebooter, which is gonna see a pretty awkward hand. So if we can find one of our Soul Sisters, I don't mind our chances, since then we can start making horse tokens every turn, and our opponent probably doesn't have a way to remove the Crested Sunmare. But we are gonna take some damage from this Champion of the Parish. And our opponent actually attacking with Meddling Mage, that's interesting. I think we just triple block the Meddling Mage here, since drawing Serra Ascendant would still be pretty decent here. And the spirit tokens aren't doing much with a freebooter in play, so yeah, let's triple block. And want to make sure to triple block in case of a Reflector Mage. Alright, opponent does have Reflector Mage. So they're just using that to pump up their Champion of the Parish. But we're still going to be able to trade for the Meddling Mage here. So our opponent's got a pretty decent board presence here, but they only have 1 card left in hand, so Plains is not gonna do it here. So yeah, flooding out a little bit. Still have maybe 1 draw step to get us back in the game, but if our opponent has anything decent left over, I think we're pretty dead. Mantis Rider, yep, that's probably gonna seal the deal here. Even if we get our Sunmare down, we don't get a horse token right away, and our opponent can start flying over. So maybe should have mulliganed that hand, but our draws didn't really help us. Well, never mind. I guess that works. That's why you side in your 1-off Wrath of God, so that you can draw it when you need it. So I guess we still have a shot here. It would not surprise me if our opponent still has a land in hand, as they just play out a Noble Hierarch. And now we get to go Crested Sunmare plus Serra Ascendant. And an attack from Serra Ascendant will ensure we get a horse token. And if our opponent doesn't have anything to block our Serra Ascendant, that would be even better, because then we won't lose the Serra Ascendant. Looks like another Mantis Rider. Alright, that could be an issue here, since that also provides a blocker for the opponent to block our Serra Ascendant. So on our next turn we can attack with both. Opponent's probably gonna take the 5, and then we get to gain the life from Serra Ascendant. Well, Path also helps, so I guess we'll Path the Mantis Rider. So if our opponent doesn't have anything to violin, then Serra Ascendant gets a pretty safe attack here. Opponent takes 6, and end of turn we get to make a horse token. Alright, things are looking up. No attacks from the opponent. And a Soul Warden. Might as well lead with Soul Warden in case our opponent vials a creature in. Move to combat and attack with everyone. Opponent chumps, otherwise they're dead. Up to 8, and we'll get another horse end of turn. So unless our opponent has something powerful to violin end of turn, I don't see how they get back into this. Alright, we got there. So very timely Wrath of God to save the day, and Soul Sisters is victorious over humans. On to the next one. Alright, we're on the play. And this hand's pretty interesting. Triple Pridemate, but no Soul Sister, no second land, so I think this is a mulligan. And this hand I can get behind. And another Soul's Attendant I think we can put on the bottom, since we want to get to 4 lands for Gideon and Ranger. So turn 1 Soul's Attendant, turn 2 Squadron Hawk, get some more Squadron Hawks, and go from there. Turn 1 Urza's Tower is not what we want to see here, since Tron is a pretty bad matchup for Soul Sisters typically. Let's get 3 Squadron Hawks and get in for 1. Let's see if the opponent has the turn 3 Tron here. Nope, just a forest, so Sylvan Scrying probably. No, Walking Ballista for 1, interesting. So they're on green Tron, and they have the Walking Ballista to blow up our Soul's Attendant perhaps. I think I just like running out another Squadron Hawk here, but I guess we can attack first. Pretend like we have a Serra Ascendant that we don't want them to kill with the Ballista, but they're just gonna shoot a Squadron Hawk right away, that's fine. They could have blocked the Soul's Attendant first to prevent the damage, so perhaps a slight misstep. No more Squadron Hawks left in the deck, so let's say go. Ancient Stirrings finds Urza's Power Plants. Our opponent's got 2 of the 3 Tron lands here. And more Rangers is not what we need. Let's just run out another Hawk and get in for 2. Our opponent with 4 lands but no Tron yet, so that's good for us. So here we're probably just gonna end up running out 2 more Soul Wardens, which puts more power in play than just running out 1 Squadron Hawk. So Soul Warden into Soul Warden. Say go. 5 lands, still no Tron, lots of forests for the opponent, and we keep drawing cards we can't cast. So yeah, let's get in. Run out Squadron Hawk, so we are above 30 now. Opponent with more forests and now Oblivion Stone, which they can use to blow up the board next turn. And there's land number 3. No point in running out Spectral Procession if our creatures are gonna die anyways, since we don't really need to gain 9 life here. So let's just say go. So now we can attack. opponent's gonna blow up the Oblivion Stone and then we run out Spectral second main. Alright. So our opponent did buy themselves some time here. Let's see if they can find their third Tron piece. Sylvan Scrying, alright, so they will have access to Tron and a total of 9 mana, which is enough for an Ugin, which is game over here if they have it. And there it is. Right on time, so they can -0, clearing up all our spirit tokens. Yep. So now we need to be able to run out Ranger of Eos. Alright, so let's see, do we want to run out Gideon or Ranger of Eos? I think I prefer running out the Ranger, since that can get us some Serra Ascendants. So let's see, is there a reason to get anything but Serra Ascendant? I don't think so. So let's get to Serra Ascendant. Opponent can plus Ugin on Ranger, but then we can force them to minus the turn after. But of course if they have any decent follow-up, we're also in trouble. And Karn Liberated is gonna do it. Exile a card from our hand. I guess we don't really need Martyr of Sands, even though if our opponent just Ugins us in the face, then Serra Ascendant will not be large enough. But at this point we're pretty much done with, because Ugin and Karn can combine very nicely to get rid of the small stuff, and then Karn can get rid of the big stuff, like a Gideon. So our opponent found the Sylvan Scrying right on time, but to be fair, they were bricking for quite a few turns. Honor of the Pure doesn't do it. Would have been nice a few turns ago when we had a bunch of 1/1s in play. But yeah, I'm just gonna pack it up here, since we're not gonna beat Ugin and Karn, and definitely not Oblivion Stone on top of that. So this matchup is pretty miserable. Can bring in Sundering Growth, can bring in Stony Silence to try and slow down the opponent a bit. That's about it. What do we take out? Path isn't great. Our opponent will have some cards like Wormcoil Engine, but don't want to have too many dead cards at the start of the game. So maybe we just take out 2 copies of Ranger of Eos, since it's a little too slow, and try something like this. We would like to be on the play. And this hand doesn't really do much. It's just a bunch of 1/1s. If we had an Ajani's Pridemate, this hand would be pretty awesome, but as is, I don't think we can keep. Alright, this is better. We've got a 1-2 punch of Soul's Attendant into Pridemate, and land will keep on top since we need to get to 4 for Gideon. So most Soul Sisters decks play Ghost Corridors along with Flagstones of Torquair in their main deck to try and fight the big mana strategies. But we're trying to go for the more budget and more consistent version that doesn't rely on Ghost Corridor. And get in for 1. So what's our ideal draw here? I guess a Spectral Procession would grow our Pridemate nicely. Expedition Map. I guess Stony Silence would also do nicely. Instead just a land, so opponent will complete Tron on their following turn, and they'll have access to 2 mana left over, and then we get to play Gideon. So we'll see if we manage to get there. Opponent playing the forest now, so interesting. And on upkeep they're gonna do something. Warping Whale our Soul's Attendant. Yeah, that works. That's unfortunate since now we can't grow the Pridemate. Squadron Hawk. Yeah, let's just play out a Gideon. But by using Warping Whale, our opponent couldn't sacrifice the Expedition Map, so they do miss out on some mana on the following turn. Let's get in for 3. And next turn we can get in for 10. So we're close to killing our opponent next turn if they don't interact. They're just sacking Expedition Map, so they'll have 3 mana left over. If they have an Ugin, we still lose, but we can beat a Karn or even an Ulamog, I think. Soul's Attendant is pretty nice here since we get to grow the Pridemate. So let's run out Squadron Hawk, find some more Squadron Hawks. Alright, so we've got a 4/4 Pridemate, so the most damage we can do this turn is just by animating Gideon and getting in for 11, putting our opponent to 1. If we want to try and go wide, we can just make a token, make this a 5/5, get in for 7. I think I just like plussing Gideon here. And then hopefully your opponent doesn't have an Ugin. Ancient Stirrings, so they're digging. Can we dodge an Ugin? One time. Wormcoil Engine doesn't do it since we have a flying Squadron Hawk. So let's see, if our opponent has a way to kill our Squadron Hawk with their colorless mana, do we want to be attacking with our other creatures? I think the answer is yes. So let's run out another Squadron Hawk. So if we run one more Squadron Hawk, we can make the Pridemate a 7/7. So let's see, if we animate Gideon, make him into a 5/5, attack with everyone, opponent blocks. The Pridemate gains 6 up to 7. Kills the Knight Ally token, then we still get in for 5, 6, 7. So I think we just animate Gideon and get in with everyone. If our opponent has the +3, -3, they can gain 9 with Wormcoil, but then they take 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So yeah, I think we have a lethal through a potential Warping Whale or Spatial Contortion here. Opponent blocks Pridemate, and they take lethal. Alright, sweet. So on to sideboarding once again against Tron. We did see a Wormcoil there, maybe we do want to reconsider bringing in a third Path to Exile at the cost of maybe a Ranger of Eos, which is pretty slow. I think I like the Crested Sunmare more in this matchup, since the tokens from Crested Sunmare can survive an Oblivion Stone activation. This hand is not gonna do it. This hand could get there, so we'll keep. And Soul Warden is interesting. It's probably worth it to keep that on top, since that speeds up our Pridemate. Turn 1 Chromatic Sphere. Let's run out Soul Warden. Say go. Alright, opponent's got the tower. And do they have a Sylvan Scrying? Nope. Warping Whale to get rid of our Soul Warden. Alright, so we're just playing out a Pridemate. Saying go. Chromatic Star, which they can sacrifice here. Opponent does have a land, so they can also sacrifice a Sphere. But they don't do anything with the 1 mana. Spectral Procession. Alright, so could run out Serra Ascendant, which has lifelink to grow the Pridemate, but I think it's just better to run out the Procession here. Get in for 2. Had our opponent not killed our Soul Warden, we would have had a pretty nice curve out here. Our Pridemate would have been a 6/6, so our opponent would have taken 7 damage here after taking 1 on turn 2. Now they have Ancient Stirrings. Hopefully we get to use these Sundering Growths, because we do have the tokens to populate. Looks like our opponent found a Wormcoil Engine, but they won't be able to play the next turn unless they find a Tron land, and we have the Sundering Growth to destroy it as well. So let's get in there for 5. Run out Serra Ascendant. Say go. Alright, 5 lands for the opponent, no Tron. And Honor of the Pure is a pretty big draw here. Get to pump the squad. And almost deal lethal. And if our opponent plays just Wormcoil Engine, we can beat that. Nature's Claim on Honor of the Pure. Yeah, that'll work. Could Sundering Growth in response to make an additional Spirit token, but I don't think we want that. And pretty funny here that we get to put a counter on the Pridemate since we gained 4 from the Nature's Claim. So we gain some life and put another counter on the Pridemate. Does our opponent have land number 6? They do. And is their play just Wormcoil Engine? It is. Alright, so Let's do some quick maths. So if we destroy the worm coil, make another spirit, we have 4 spirits. And then we can blow up the life-linking one. Then we have 4 spirits attacking. Opponent would take 5, and they get to eat the Pridemate with the death-touching worm. Or we can just destroy the death-touching worm and make them gain the life, but keep the Pridemate in play. That's probably better. So let's populate the spirits. Untap. Yeah, I think we just play out Soul's Attendant. I guess we just attack with our flyers here. And save our Sundering Growth in case our opponent has something weird here. Alright, they did just complete Tron. And all his dusts, yeah, that's pretty unfortunate. Maybe should have kept our Soul's Attendant. So let's let that happen. Opponent attacks us for a bunch. Let's just get rid of the life-linking one, since now Spectral Procession can present lethal or a Squadron Hawk. Serra Ascendant instead. Let's play it out, say go. Our opponent might not be able to attack since an Honor of the Pure would be lethal. Instead they just have a Warping Whale. And an Ugin. Alright, I guess they got it. Not sure what we can draw to get out of this. So if our Sundering Growth was a path to exile, we would have been able to win there. Maybe we should have used Sundering Growth on our own Honor of the Pure, but then our opponent doesn't let us gain the 4 life, so we don't get the counter on the Pridemate, so I think it ends up the same. Now our opponent can ultimate Ugin. Sylvan's crying. I don't think we can still win this one. Martyr of Sands. Well, we were very close. That Nature's Claim saved our opponent. So we'll see an Ugin ultimate. Opponent back up to 9. Yeah, I wonder if we could have done something different. Maybe we should have led with Serra Ascendant rather than the Soul Warden. Opponent finds a Karn. Ancient Stirrings. Alright, let's just concede since we're beyond dead here. So maybe should have had those Ghost Corridors in the deck after all, but of course that does slow us down if we're trying to cast Spectral Procession on 3 every game, but if you do expect a lot of Tron decks, then Ghost Corridor is a pretty valuable addition. Alright, we would like to be on the play, and this hand looks keepable. Not super exciting, but definitely keepable. So turn 1 Soul Warden, say go, turn 2 Honor of the Pure, turn 3 Spectral, which goes nicely with our Honor of the Pure. And if we can find another land, Ranger is pretty awesome as well. Turn 1 Arid Mesa. Could we be up against Burn? Stomping Ground, so probably not. Just a tapped Stomping Ground. Alright, and we found a Squadron Hawk, which is a bit more exciting than playing out Honor of the Pure here. So let's get 3 other Hawks. And attack for 1. Opponent with a turn 2 Edge of Autumn. So that's a weird ramp card essentially. So turn 3, think we just wanna Spectral Procession here. Could go Soul Warden Squadron Hawk, which is 1 fewer power than running out Spectral Procession. But next turn we wanna run out the Honor of the Pure, I think. So we have to decide whether or not the life gain really matters here. And maybe it does. But if we're up against a Scapeshift type of deck, then killing them faster seems more relevant, so I think we go for the Spectral Procession here. Once they get to 8 or more lands, they'll be able to kill us even with the life gain from the Soul Warden. So let's hit for 2. Next turn we can go Soul Warden plus Honor of the Pure, which is also a reason to run out the Spectral here, since next turn that's more mana efficient. 4 lands. Don't want to see an Anger of the Gods here. Young Pyromancer, that's acceptable. Since every token from Young Pyromancer also gains us a life. And a Cathartic Reunion, discarding Valakut. So our opponent's got an interesting twist on the Valakut deck, it looks like. They might have the 4-mana sorcery that returns lands from the graveyard to play, which is a reason to run cards like Cathartic Reunion and Edge of Autumn. So yeah, we're just going for Soul Warden into Honor of the Pure, and I don't mind trading Soul Warden for Young Pyromancer here. So let's attack with everyone. Opponent does take the trade. Opponent's at 7, so they're dead next turn, so they need something pretty good here. Magmatic Insight, so they're digging, putting an extra land in the graveyard. Did they get there? Faithless Looting, so probably means that they can't cast their 4-mana sorcery this turn, unless they have something like a Simian Spirit Guide or a Ritual. We see more looting kind of cards and another Valakut going in the graveyard. Opponent with an Edge of Autumn sacrifices a land to cycle. There's a land, so our opponent is fetching, so they might have something here. Cinderglade. Hopefully no Anger of the Gods. Nope, another Magmatic Insight. So they're still digging. They also have a Steam Vent, which is interesting, so they have a blue splash somewhere. And they're just playing a hollow one. That also goes nicely with all their looting effects, but that's not going to save them. Alright, on to sideboarding against what looks like a weird take on Scapeshift, and I think they rely pretty heavily on the graveyard, so Rest in Peace seems like a nice addition. Don't think we need anything else really. Could see an argument for Eidolon, since they play a lot of looting effects and that can slow them down, but probably not worth it. So take out 2 Rest in Pieces. Path seems okay, since their opponent did have a few creatures there. But maybe we can take out 2 copies, since I think we can beat a hollow one with all our creatures. And we don't really want to be ramping our opponent if they're on Valakut. This hand looks acceptable. Some Sisters. I guess we probably should have considered bringing in Burrenton Forge-Tender, since our opponent is likely to have a red sweeper effect like Anger of the Gods. So that might have been a mistake on our part. And I guess we could have taken out something like a Soul Warden or 2 to make room for it. So we do have to be mindful of sweeper effects post board. So let's run out our Soul's Attendant. Not that it really matters which one you play first. Opponent takes 2 from Steam Vents. And there's an Edge of Autumn. Puts Mountain into play. Another Honor of the Pure. So here we can go Squadron Hawk, or we can go Soul Warden plus Serra Ascendant. I kind of like going Soul Warden plus Serra Ascendant here. Get in for 1. Alright, let's see if our opponent does have a sweeper, and let's see if they already want to play it here. And next turn we might just run out Honor of the Pure and start beating down. Faithless Looting, putting Molten Vortex and Valakut in the graveyard. And another Edge of Autumn. Opponent up to 4 lands, 4 cards still in hand. A Looting in the graveyard as well as Valakut, which could be relevant. 3rd land found, which means we could run out Spectral Procession, but that does get blown out pretty heavily if our opponent does have a sweeper effect. While if we just run out Honor of the Pure, we get to hit for a total of 6, and next turn we can make that 9 if we run out another Honor of the Pure, which almost kills our opponent. If we run out Spectral here, we get to hit for 3 this turn, and then 12 next turn, so that's also not lethal. So I think I like the more conservative play of playing around a potential sweeper effect by running out Honor of the Pure first. So this turn we gain 2 from Serra Ascendant attacking, and then next turn we gain 6 if we cast Spectral with the 2 Soul Sisters in play, which means that the Serra Ascendant will get bigger. So that puts it out of range of a potential Anger of the Gods. Opponent with the Molten Vortex, so they will probably be pretty interested in shooting down our Serra Ascendant before we get above 30, and in fact they do. But that does make our procession plan better, since they'll have a hard time killing each and every one of our spirits. Opponent keeps ramping. The Squadron Hawk, Procession and Honor of the Pure are reasonable plays here. since Honor of the Pure means our 2 Soul Sisters can't die to the Molten Vortex, and now that we picked up an additional sister, I definitely like going Honor of the Pure plus Soul's Attendant. And hit for 6, and next turn our opponent's dead. And even if they have an Anger, we can follow up with Spectral, which is a nice follow-up. Kind of want to see what our opponent's big finish is, so let's see if we get to find out here. Flashing back Faithless Looting, so we might not get to see the 4 mana sorcery that I was talking about, but I'm pretty sure that they're playing that card. Alright, our opponent's gonna double shoot Soul's Attendant, which I guess keeps him alive. Flame Jab to finish it off. So no double activation, just Flame Jab plus Molten Vortex. Let's Slave for 6, and then I think we just run out double Squadron Hawk rather than Spectral Procession. Again, plays a bit better around the sweeper effect, and also uses up our mana. Gain some life, and might as well run out one more, just in case. Alright. Opponent's got 1 turn here. Another Faithless Looting, so they're digging through their deck. Can they find what they're looking for? We are at 29, so I'm not sure that getting back a bunch of Valakuts and Mountains is good enough at this point. I guess a reason to run out Spectral Procession rather than Squadron Hawks is that we gain 2 more life, putting us at 31, which could be relevant. Alright, there's Sweltering Suns, which makes me happy that we went with a double Squadron Hawk rather than Spectral. Opponent 0 cards in hand, so they're just top decking, and we've got a lot of gasoline left here. Just gonna run out 1 Spectral rather than 2 Squadron Hawks, and that should probably do it. I guess we'll run out the land. Say go. Do they have another sweeper? They're tapping 3 mana, but they don't have it. Alright, managed to get there, so I wanna thank you for watching, I hope you enjoyed, and as always, have a nice day. I also want to thank all my patrons for supporting the channel, and you can do so yourself as well over at patreon.com/LegenVD, where you get cool rewards for supporting the channel, as well as getting us closer to our goals, where with every goal reached we will release an additional weekly series, so if you want to see more content, Patreon is the place to go.